All right, so today we are working on 3-5 of digits. We're on page 61. We are going to do our launch. We're working with zero and negative exponents, which we've seen some of this before last week. So complete the table. Describe 3 patterns you see in the table. Well, we're going to complete the table and we're going to describe some patterns. So we see 2 to the 5th is 32. 2 to the 4th is 16. So we know 16 is half of 32. Half of 16 is 8. Half of 8 is 4. Notice how our exponents are going down by 1 each. Well, 2 to the 1st is going to give us 2. And you might be wondering, what the heck is 2 to the 0th power? Well, to the power of 0, I should say. What's half of 2? Let's continue the pattern. Half of 2 is 1. And then we have 2 to the negative first power. And we know when we have negative exponents, we put them over that 1. And that would be 1 over 2 to the first, or just 1 over 2. So that's one pattern, is each time your number is cut in half. So these numbers get cut in half. So let's look at this one. 10 to the 5th is 100,000. 10 to the 4th is 10,000. 10 to the 3rd, 1,000. 10 squared, 100. 10 to the 1st. Well, 10 to the 1st is just 10. And notice these are going down by a division of 10. So we're dividing by 10 each time. So what's 10 divided by 10? Well, that's again going to give us 1. So 10 to the 0 is 1. Now again, 10 to the negative first, we just put that over a 1, or under a 1, and we get 1/10. So for these, they're not getting cut in half. They're being, instead of being divided by 2, they're being divided by 10. We want to notice this section right here. Here's our third pattern, I guess. 2 to the power of 0 and 10 to the power of 0 both equal 1. So we are going to say, and not just because of that, but because I'm telling you, anything to the power of 0 equals 1. So over off to the side, I literally want you to write parentheses. Inside the parentheses, write anything to the power of 0 equals 1. That means 2.4 to the power of 0 equals 1. That means x to the power of 0 equals 1. Now, let's say it's 4x to the power of 0. Does that equal 1? Well, not quite. X to the power of 0 equals 1. That equals 4 times 1, or so in this case it would be 4. So make sure you have those written down. We're now going to move on to page 62. Now, if you want to pause here, of course, you have this got it, but you don't have A, B, C, and D written down, and we're going to do the you try. So any moment you want to pause and do the you try, you can. So simplify the expression. Negative 3.6 to the power of 0. Well, we just discussed 3.6 to the power of 0. Anything to the power of 0 is going to give us 1. All right, so now go ahead and pause. And I'm going to work these out, and hopefully you can figure them out too. So I decided to play after doing A and B, and then I decided I'll do C and D together with you. So A and B, you should have gotten 1 for A, because 18 over 18 is equal to 1. X to the 20th minus 20 is equal to x to the 0, so you get 1 times x to the 0, which is just 1 times 1. Final answer is 1. Now this one here gives you w to the 8 minus 8 times z to the 15 minus 8, w to the 0 times z to the 7th, and eventually you just get z to the 7th. So now I want to do C with you together. If you already did it, then you can fast forward to see if you got it right. So first we do 9 divided by 3. Remember the old school. So we get 3. X to the 5th minus 2. Y to the 12th minus 12. Now I'm getting 5 and 2 from right there, and 12 and 12 from right there. So this gives me 3x to the third y to the 0 power, 3x to the third. Anything to the power of 0 is 1, so that's 3x to the third times 1, which just gives me 3x to the third as my final answer. All right, now D. This gives me 5x to the 0 power is 1, 5 times 1, so that answer is just going to give me 5. Hope you got those right. Moving on to page 62, or excuse me, below. I want you, again, we're doing the got it, and right below the got it, I want you to write each of these examples. I'm going to do the first two, and then I want you to try the second two. So at any point right now, pause and write this down. So simplify the expression. M squared n to the fourth over m to the fifth n to the third. So this is going to give me m, and remember we subtract exponents, so 2 minus 5, n to the fourth minus 3. So what does that give me? M squared minus 5 gives me m to the negative 3 power, n to the first power. Well, now remember, when we have negative exponents, we take that and we move it down to the bottom. So this now gives me n over m cubed. And n to the first is the same as just plain n. So that's my final answer. So again, I'm going to do A and B with you. And then I want you to try C and D. So 2 to the 8th over 2 to the 11th. Just this gives me 2 to the 8th minus 11, which gives me 2 to the negative third. And anytime we have a negative exponent, we move it down to the bottom of our fraction. Well, when there's nothing on top to move it down to, we just put 1 over 2 to the third, and that's our final answer. You might even get asked to change that to 1 over 8, because 2 to the third is 8. Okie dokie. B, 100 over 200. That's the first thing we do. So that's going to give us 1 over 2. B to the 50th over B to the 75th. So B to the 50th minus 75. Now that gives me 1 over B, or excuse me, 1B to the negative 25th over 2. Well, again, anytime we have a negative exponent, we bring it down to the bottom. So this is going to give me 1 over 2 times B to the 25th. 1 over 2 times B to the 25th. Hope you can read that. All right, so now pause and see if you get C and D correct. All right, so C, you should have gotten B to the 5th over A to the 8th times C squared. Notice this step right here, negative 3 minus 5 gives me a negative 8. 7 minus 2 gives me 5. 5 minus 7 gives me negative 2. When we have negative exponents, we move them down. We keep the positive ones on top. Over here, we first had to distribute this negative 2 to all of the factors, to 2 to x cubed and to y to the negative 5th. You should have gotten 2 to the negative 2 times x to the negative 6 times y to the 10th. And of course, we keep the y to the 10th on top, and we move all of this down to the bottom. All right. So hopefully you got those right. Now we're on to the got it on page 63, both of them. Is 3 to the negative 2 positive or negative? Justify your answer. Well, or excuse me, negative 3 to the negative 2. So whenever we see negative exponents, again, we want to move them down to the bottom. So this is 1 over negative 3 squared. So when you move this down to the bottom, only the exponent becomes positive, not the number. So this still stays negative 3 squared. Well, 1 over negative 3 squared is just 1 over negative 3 times negative 3. And we know a negative times a negative is a positive, so this is 1 over 9. Now that's a little number, it's something less than 1, but it is positive, so this is positive. All right, next one. Is 4 to the negative third greater than 1, equal to 1, or less than 1? So let's do the same thing. 4 to the negative third. We have 4 to the negative 3. Well, anytime we see that, we flip it down or flip it up if it's on the bottom. In this case, we flip it down. And we know 4 to the third is 4 times 4 times 4, which gives me 1 over 64. Now again, it's not greater than 1. It's not equal to 1, so not greater than, not equal to. So it must be less than 1. And that actually, we're going to put less than 1. And it's a decimal, right? So all the decimals are lower than 1. So 1 over 64, that's 1/64 of 1. Okay. So now go ahead and start your 3.5 homework. It's on your to-do list on digits. It's numbers 1 through 15.